So lately there's been a shortage of silver. So I thought I'd talk about the pros and cons of various different forms of silver. And it has changed over time, actually. When I was a kid, back when I was about 13 or 14 years old, and I started paying attention to the silver market, what really struck me as the opportunity of a lifetime was the 40% silver Kennedy half dollars. Let me explain why. Back then, silver was about $4 an ounce, and each of those 40% silver half dollars had about 60 cents worth of silver. And I just thought it was a very low risk way of buying silver. At the time, the dot-com bubble had just crashed, and I remember my parents were arguing all the time about how my dad had lost $500,000 in the stock market. And I suggested that he take whatever he had left and buy 40% silver half dollars. At the time, I probably didn't realize how right I was, but I just thought that it seemed like a no-brainer. The most you could lose was, what, a sixth of your investment, right? Every 60 cents would become 50, and it had a lot of upside, right? Because you look at 1980 when silver was $50 an ounce, and I just looked around myself, and I didn't see anything I could buy at a fraction of the price that I could buy in 1980, right? I didn't really know about the Hunt brothers story, but it just seemed like a no-brainer when you have so little downside and so much upside, right? So I told my dad, why don't you just buy 40% silver half dollars? And my parents thought I was crazy. Now later that year, I used to love to search rolls of coins, half dollars at the bank. And I had gone to the bank and they had, I think, $500 or $1,000 worth of half dollars. And I didn't have enough money to get it all outright. I had to get like 3 rolls, go home and search them, and then exchange them for 3 more rolls. And I talked to my mom about this, and I asked her if she could loan me some money so I could go get all the coins back, and then I could search through them. And my mom was so upset that it had taken over my life. And she was like, why don't you just get a real job, instead of wasting all your time searching half dollars. My mom was so upset about that. And so she was really upset that I would suggest to my dad to take whatever money he had left and buy silver half dollars. Of course, now he really regrets that he didn't listen to that advice. But at the time, it was a silly joke. Now, today, you also have an opportunity to do something similar. Japan made a 100 yen silver coin. Now, the Japanese yen has been a lot stronger than the US dollar since the 1960s. I think each of these coins has about 1/10 of an ounce of silver. If you can buy them at close to the spot price of silver, it does provide a little bit of a downside protection, right? Actually, I think it provides a lot more downside protection than you think, because if the price of silver were to crash, I would expect the value of the yen to go up, because Japan is a major importer of natural resources, right? And silver going in the same direction as natural resources. So I would recommend that. The downside of silver coins is that they contain an alloy of only 60% silver. So you might find that the cost of refining the silver coins will be higher. Now, at the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, when everybody was going crazy for every kind of silver they could find, nobody was buying the 1,000-ounce silver bar. And I think the big reason for that is that when you sell a 1,000-ounce silver bar, there's a tax return that has to be filled out. Now, I'm not terribly worried about that. And the reason for that is that if silver were to go to astronomical levels, I would expect a return to a gold or silver standard. And then you're holding real money. And by definition, there's no taxes for holding currency, right? So I wouldn't be terribly concerned about that. The other thing that I would recommend is that when the COVID crisis does start to wane down, you can look at private mints that will turn your silver bar into rounds. Right? Let me see if I can find that. Turn silver bar into rounds. Convert bars into rounds. Silver bullion convert. They're probably not doing it right now because of all the shortages and all that. But if we're wrong about the crisis and silver falls to $5 or $6 an ounce, right? Let's just pretend hypothetically. Obviously, it probably won't. Then the process of turning your silver bar into rounds will probably be even more popular at that time, right? And obviously, I would be buying even more silver at that time. So I'm not terribly concerned about the fact that the tax forms that need to be filled out when you do sell the 1,000-ounce silver bar. There's probably going to be opportunities to break up that bar. There's probably going to be changes to the tax law if we're actually right about silver going to the moon. Not terribly worried. Now, back in 2009, at the height of the financial crisis, when silver was in short supply, nobody seemed to want the 40% war nickels. And the reason for that is that the alloys for the war nickels contains manganese, and apparently the process of refining them was a little bit more tricky. See, I'm not terribly worried about that, because imagine it costs, let's say it costs $3 extra an ounce to refine silver that contains alloys of manganese. Okay, I expect the price of silver to rise faster than the cost of refining silver. So if I'm holding that to a day when silver is worth $1,000 an ounce and it's costing $10 an ounce to refine the manganese out of it, I'm still going to be well ahead of somebody who bought silver that had a higher premium, in the sense that I have more ounces of silver to mess with, right? And yes, it costs more to refine, but more importantly, I also have more ounces at that point in time. As long as you expect the price of silver to rise faster than the cost of refining silver, you shouldn't be terribly worried about what form of silver you had. Now, in 2011, I was working on my PhD, and silver hit $50 an ounce. Obviously, it had a lot less purchasing power than $50 an ounce did in 1980. But as the price of silver went up, I noticed that the premiums on some of the rarer silver coins, like the Morgan silver dollars, did not keep up. And so, obviously, I was still buying silver because I was dollar cost averaging, but I bought a lot of rarer coins as a result. I think the premium for Morgan silver dollars is kind of back now. But I would recommend basically, in English, I would say the rarest silver coin you can get that has minimal premium, right, is probably what I would buy at any given moment in time. So maybe the Walking Liberty $50, maybe the Standing Liberty quarter. I would definitely shy away from that at the moment because you're not really getting much downside protection there, as I think those are going for 10 times. At least 10 times face value, maybe even a premium over silver right now. I would shy away from that because even though you might be able to get it at a little bit below silver, you can get a lot of rarer stuff for just at silver price, right? Depending on the premiums, if this is the only silver you can find, yeah, it's better than not having anything. But as I hold on to that, I would look into opportunities to break it up, obviously. You're probably not going to have an opportunity to break up something like that until after the COVID crisis. Anyways, my take on which form of silver to buy, but more importantly, buy something, right? All of this is going to be moot if you miss the opportunity to buy any silver while you still can.